So in the last class we have gone through element collections. We saw the querying part, and we were going through self references, right? Entity class map to itself. So these are the things which we were doing in the last class. Yeah. Let's carry forward here. Go ahead. So today I'll talk about inheritance mappings. Let's go through this inheritance mappings here. Yes. So when we talk about this inheritance mappings, you'll find that you learn how to map inheritance relationships. How to map inheritance relationships, I can say. Yes. Now let's take the example of users. Okay, we have two different types of users when it comes to this case study. You have bidder and sellers. When we talk about users, we got users called as bidder. We got user called as seller. Yes. Here you see, because these two types of users have got some common properties and behaviors, so we can make use of inheritance concept here. Okay, we can make use of inheritance concept. Yes. So just a minute, Niharika, we just started. So I'm started. I'm talking about inheritance mappings here. Okay. So the bidders and sellers, they have common properties, right, and behaviors. So what we'll do here, we'll define a class called as user, wherein you'll have the common properties between these two types of users, I can say. Okay. Yes. I'll show you. Just a second. Say this is a user class. Now you can check this fields: user ID, first name, last name, birth date, username, password, email. So these are all the common properties or fields here between these two types of users, right? Yeah. So that common fields, they are defined in the user class now. In the common fields, basically they are defined in the user class. Yes. Okay. We have a bidder class which represents the bidders. So bidders, you will find that it extends user. So bidders will be responsible for placing bids, right? Bidders are actually responsible for placing bids. Yes. And you see, orders will be associated to this bidders. If bidder wins in any bid, so that you see that bid details, sorry, that order details will be associated to this particular bidder. I think the order details will be associated to this particular bidder. Yes. So we don't have any special properties in bidder class again, but if it when it comes to seller, seller has got additional properties. Have you noticed it? Max items allowed. Don't worry about the kind of mappings and all. First check this properties here. Okay. Yes. You see max items allowed. That is one property, and the other one is the commission rate here. We got the commission rate. So max items allowed. You see how many items the user the seller can sell on the shop. Okay, there is a limit. How many items this seller can sell? We have a limit here. Next, what is this commission rate? You see, so the seller will place that item for sale, right? So how much they have to pay here? How much the seller has to pay for the company, for the online shop, let's say. So that is that commission rate, let's say. Okay, yes. So these are the additional properties which are only defined in the seller. I mean, they belong to the seller, not to the buyer. Yes. Okay. So You see, we have this inheritance concept, right? For suppose, if I have to store seller details, then what you will do? Yes. What you will do? Yes. How will you store the seller details in the database? On the Java side, you see, we have this inheritance relationship, right? Seller buyer. How will you store the seller details and buyer details? What you will do? Yes. No idea. Okay, I'll tell you. So first of all, what you'll do here, you'll find that we have to create a table. But how will you create the tables? We have a problem here. We have a problem. Earlier we saw that we had a single class mapped to a single table, right? In a class we had fields. Straight away you can map those fields to the table. But here the case is different, right? So we have a superclass, a subclass. Superclass properties are common for not one class, for not one subclass, but multiple subclasses. Now we have to map this properties of the superclass class and subclass here to the table. So how we are going to do that? That is important. How we can do that? Yes. So what to do?
The user ID in the user table will be the foreign key in the bidder and the seller tables.
With run seller tables. Okay. Yeah. So we have several strategies here, I can say, which are supported by Hibernate. Let me talk about that strategies. Okay. So first of all, yeah, we call them as inheritance mapping strategies. Mapping strategies. Number one, single table strategy. Number two, table per class strategy. The third one is joint table strategy. Joint table strategy. So we got three different strategies here. You know, the first strategy, the name itself indicates, we just have a single table here, not more than one. We just got single table. Yes. That means we'll be mapping both the classes, all the three classes, I mean both sub sellers and bidders, will map them to the same table. Okay, we'll map them to the same table, I can say. Yes. Here, that means it indicates that both the buyer and seller records are added to the bidder and seller records are added to the same table. Bidder and seller records are added to the same table here. Yes. But if bidder and seller records are added to the same table, don't you think we'll have a problem here? Don't you think there will be a problem here? Yes. Do you think will there be any problem? Um, the problem here, I can say that it is there can be a confusion here. You know, which record is buyer, which record is seller. Am I right? So you have both the records stored into the same table. Now what happens? So which record is buyer record? Which record is seller record? So it would be difficult to understand. That is a problem. Yes. Okay. Yes. How will you address this issue then? There will be a confusion. I'm saying that here, now both the records will be added to the same table. Of course, we'll have a confusion. How that issue is addressed? What do people think? we use another table, sorry, a special column here called as discriminator column to differentiate the records. Okay, yeah, we'll have a special column called as discriminator column, which helps hibernate even us to understand it is what type of record. In this column, you can give any name. Let's say in our case, I would like to call it as user type. This column value will be either bidder or seller. If the bidder record is added, this column value will be bidder. If seller record is added, this column value will be seller. That's it. So this way, based on the type of value which is stored here, you'll find that Hibernate understands it is what type of record. Not only Hibernate, even we can understand it is what type of record. Okay, yes. Okay, so let's try to understand how to map this in classes here to the table. Okay, yes, we have multiple tables, sorry, multiple classes which we need to map it to the same table, right? Yeah, what to do? Let's see. First of all, here, this is a superclass, right? So on top of the superclass, you need to provide the details about the table. You know, this class is here. They have to be mapped to which table. You need to provide that table details here. Okay. Yes. You know, we'll map this class to a table. Table name equal to, let's say, user. Okay. I'll call it as e-user. Now, just on top of that superclass, you'll provide this table details. That's all. In subclasses, we don't have to provide the table details again. In the subclasses, we don't need to provide the table details. Yes. Next,
Can you repeat, please?
yeah. Now on top of the table, sorry, on top of the superclass, we'll provide this table details. Okay. Now the superclass and subclasses will be mapped to the same table. Okay. Next, here we are using what type of inheritance strategy here? This is which inheritance mapping strategy? As I told you people, it is single table strategy, right? So we have to provide the details on top of this superclass again. We have to do this. See, at the rate, sorry, inheritance strategy equal to single table. This way, you'll specify the details about the strategy which you're using here. Now it indicates that we are using single table strategy. Yes. Okay. Next, as I told you, there is an issue when you're using single table strategy. What is the issue? You know, both the tables will be mapped to, sorry, both the classes, both the records, the buyer and seller records here, they are stored into the same table. They are actually stored into the same table, right? That is the problem. So there will be a confusion, right? So which record is buyer record, which record is seller record. So it would be difficult to understand. So that's the reason why will use a special column, as I told you people. What is that column? Discriminator column. So that column details, we need to specify them here. The discriminator column details, we have to specify them here. Let's do that. At the rate discriminator column. This is the annotation. We have to specify the column name. What is it? User type, let's say. And it is what type of column, I mean what type of value you will store in that column. It's a string. So we'll specify the column name and also the details about the type of value you'll store in that column here. So in this case, it is specified as string type. The column, it takes string values here. That is what it indicates. And the column name is user type. Remember one thing, you see for this column, there won't be any property in the entity class. You see, in this entity class, you won't find any property for this column. You see, we didn't map this column to any of the properties of the entity class, right? We're just adding this information on top of the entity class. We're just adding this information on top of the entity class here. So that is what we did, right? Yes. I hope you people got it. Yeah. And the remaining mappings here will be regular mappings. You see, we didn't specify any column mappings here. I mean, we are not mapping these properties to the columns. What's the reason? I did explain it in the last class. Why we are not doing it here?
Column names in the data table are same, so no need to specify.
Yeah. Here the column names and property names are same. So if the column names and property names are same, so we don't have to explicitly map this properties to the columns in the database. It is not needed. Yeah. Okay. So all of the things are regular mappings. You see, for user we'll have an address, right? So the association between the user and address is 1 to 1. So you got this annotation 1 to 1 on top of this address property, which you got here in the user class. Because it represents a 1 to 1 association, we have that annotation here. Okay. So what about subclasses? So let's check the subclasses here. So any doubts in this regard with this mappings? Yes. Anyone got any questions? Any doubts? Let me know. Okay, good. Now let's work with the subclasses here. In the subclass, the more the stuff. You see, you got a bidder, let's say. Now, how will you map it? Do we need to map this subclass to a table here again? I can say not needed. We don't have to do that. Okay, not needed. Next, but in the subclass, it will be providing that column value. Yes, you see, whenever this bidder record is added, okay, bidder object is added to the subclass. You see that the discriminator column value, I want it to be bidder. The discriminator column value, I want it to be bidder. Yes, bidder. We have to specify that value here. You see this way, column, sorry, discriminator column, not column, discriminator value. We have value annotation, and then you'll specify the value. What is the value which you want to add to that discriminator column? Bidder. That's it. So anything else we are supposed to add here? That's it. Okay. And you see, the bidder is mapped to bids. You know the association between bidder and bids. So bidder places bids. Bidder can place any number of bids, right? Multiple bids. Maybe not on the same item, but on different items. Bidder can place different multiple bids on different items, I can say. Yes, it is one to any. And you see, for a bidder, there can be several orders associated. You know that. Now let's have a look at the other table. Sorry, other entity class. Any questions with regard to the mappings here in this class? Let me know. No questions? Okay, good. Similarly, we'll map this other subclass. Okay, here we don't have to map the subclass to a table. What you can do is here, you can add this discriminator column, sorry, discriminator value, and we'll make this class, sorry, and this is the value which I want. What is it? Seller. Yes. So that's all we need to do here. You know what? Say we don't have the tables in the database. In that case, what you will do, you have to create the tables on your own, right? Generally, in Hibernate, we have a tool called as HPM to DDL, which helps us to generate the tables, I can say. Okay, HPM to DDL. With the help of HPM to DDL tool, yes, you can do it. Now, what I will do is here, I'll show you people how to use the tool to generate the tables on the database, in the database here. Okay, you know what? I have a schema called as eShop. I'm dropping the schema. There's no eShop schema. I'll create a new schema here called as eShop. You see, as of now in the schema, there are no tables. It's just a blank schema. Now I want the tables here to be created here in this eShop schema. So what are the changes first of all we need to do if you want to use a particular schema where you will specify it? Yes, where you'll specify the schema details.
Hibernated configure.xml.
Yeah, in the Hibernate configuration file, you have to provide those details. So Let me configure those details here. So the schema name, I would change it to eShop. See, we have text here. I'll change it to eShop. And now what I want to do is here, we don't have any tables. So I don't want to create the tables manually. Yes. Okay. Now we can take the help of the tool HBM to DDL. Yes. We can use this HBM to DDL tool, I can say. So we have to configure the tool HBM to DDL tool here itself. Okay. We need to configure it here itself. Here. Yes. Let's do it. So we have a property. I'll add create. That's it. Okay. So you know what here? This is a tool. What we're doing, we're enabling this tool HBM to DDL. Now this tool called as HBM to DDL will be responsible for creating the tables. So do we need to provide the table details, what tables it is supposed to create, where we'll configure the table details and all? What do you think? I can say no, not needed. Why? Because we already have those details, right? Where we have those details, yes. In the entity class, as you see, we got that object relational mapping, right? ORM. What we did, we have mapped those classes to the tables. Already the table details are provided here, definitely. Already the table details are provided. Yes. So you see, the container, sorry, the framework now will use that mapping information, object relational mapping information to create the tables appropriately here. Yes. Okay. Now let me just do this. Here, I'll just create a class called as test schema. Test schema. Finish. I won't write any code to fetch the records or add the records. In first place, you see, we don't have the tables. Let me just quickly create them. We can do this. I'll just execute this blank. That's it. Start the session. Close the session. That's enough. Internally, Hibernate will take care of creating the tables here, which is required. Let me run this code. Oops, I'm sorry. There is a problem here. It's creating the product table because in the configuration file, we just did mention about, sorry, in the utility class, we have only registered that product and supplier classes. We have a lot of classes here to mention about. Bid, sorry, bidder. I have this code. Let me just quickly copy this code. Registering entity class. Okay. We have to also configure that category. So these classes are imported, whereas we are directly specifying the package details. Okay. Yeah. Now we have registered all the classes. If you can check this. So what are all the classes which you want to use? We just registered them here. Okay. Now, so what's the next thing you have to do here? See, first of all, the tool will drop any tables. I mean, especially the tables which we want the Hibernate framework to create here, that HPM to DDL tool. What it does, first of all, it will drop those tables if they are existing. And then it will add the tables again. Okay. So what is the tool we are using here to create these tables? Yes.
HBM to DDL.
Yeah. HPM to DDL. which is configured in the Hibernate CFG XML file. You know what? So once you're using it, once you're done using it, you try to again remove that HBM to DDL tool configuration, okay, from the XML file. Otherwise, it will create a new schema again. I mean, it will delete all these existing tables and create a new one. Generally, see, for testing purpose and all, for development, this is fine. But in real-time applications, I mean, in that case, tables will be created separately, not using these tools. Yes, you see, this tool is handy for us, right? Yeah. Okay. Now let's have a look at the tables now. Especially the table, if you refresh the schema, you won't find them here until unless you refresh the schema. Now you have these tables. Let's go through this user table here. Okay, you see, you got so many columns. You see, you have user type, user ID, birth name, birth date, email, first name, last name, city, password. See, you'll find that you have the columns related to both the tables here. Yes, right? Commission rate, max items, it is related to sellers, only sellers. Yeah, this is single table strategy, I can say. You see, the complete class hierarchy, it is mapped to only a single table. You just map it to a single table here. Yes. So is it clear for you people, all of you? Okay. I have a question here. What is the advantage of using this strategy? Do you see any advantage of using the strategy here? You can create any schema for Java. No, I'm not talking about the tool. About the strategy which you're using here. So you're using a strategy, right? The advantage you see here is that both the records are stored into the same table. Easy for fetching. It won't be that difficult for us, right? Yeah. If you create a separate table for users and sellers and bidders, if you have three different tables, then you have to use joins always. Merge multiple tables here. That will be an issue. We don't want to do that. Yes. Instead, see, we have just a single table. But there is a drawback also for this approach. What is the disadvantage of using this approach? What do people think?
Too many columns.
So many columns, okay? Yeah, you see, because both the records are stored into the same table, if you add buyer record, the columns associated with the seller will be null. You see, max items, commission rate will be null when you add buyer record, a bidder record, I mean to say. We cannot add that non-null constraint here, a unique constraint. Not null or unique constraints cannot be added to that columns. Okay, that is one of the problems with this single table strategy here. Okay, I hope you people got it. Yes, just a minute, please. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry. So I hope you understood this. Yeah, is it clear? So let's talk about the second strategy here, that is table per class strategy, I can say. Table per class. So table per class strategy means, actually you can also call it as table per concrete class actually. You better call it as table per concrete class, but generally in short it is called as table per class. That's it. That means you'll find that here for each subclass there will be a table. How about the superclass? So there won't be any table for the superclass here. There won't be any table for the superclass. Okay? Yeah. So let me do one thing. So first of all, I will export this project as is. First, single table strategy. Hibernate project here. Directly I've added it to the Google Drive. Now let's make changes here. So what did I say? Here, the second strategy basically, so you'll find that here you'll have two, sorry, you'll have only tables for subclasses here. Okay, that means we have how many subclasses? We have two subclasses, seller and bidder. What about the parent class? You have the fields in the parent class, right? So what do you people think? What happens to them?
Will be in both the tables.
Yeah, the superclass fields or properties, they will be mapped to the same, sorry, to both the subclasses, I can say. Okay, let's try to map it based on this information. We'll do that. So let's go to the superclass first. Always start with superclass here. See, Now, do we need to map this class to the table, superclass to the table? I can say not needed. For superclass, there won't be any table, as I told you, right? We can remove this table annotation here. Now we have to change this inheritance strategy details here. Make it table per class. Okay, the inheritance type. Now we have specified it as table per subclass. Next, do we need a discriminator column here? What do people think?
No.
No? Okay. Yeah, we don't need a discriminator column here because you see, you'll find that here that the records are stored separately in two different tables. The records are stored separately in two different tables, right? Seller records are stored in one table, buyer records are stored in another table here. Yes, right? So we don't need a discriminator column here. There is no need for that. Next, the mappings will be regular. You can remove this discriminator column now. The mappings will be regular. By default, now this superclass fields will be mapped to both the subclass fields. Okay. Yes. Next, when it comes to bidder, so do we need a discriminator value here? No. Do we need to map this table, sorry, this class to the table? Yes. Do we need to map this class to the table? I can say yes. As I told you people, for each subclass there will be a table, right? Of course, definitely. You need to map this class to the table here. This way, table name equal to say bidders. Okay, that's it. It's very simple mapping actually. That's all. Nothing much. Next here also in the seller class, You can remove this discriminator column. In place of that, you can add this table name equal to seller. That's it. So that's all we need to do here. It's most simple mapping here. Let's run this code. Refresh this thing. We'll have a bidder table. You can check these columns. In the bidders table, you'll find user ID, birth date, first name, email, so which are superclass fields, right? Yeah, that is what happens here. And you see, even in seller table also, a table called a seller will be created here. You'll find that columns for the user class fields. Yes. Okay. So this is what you'll see. Okay, fine. Now, do you see any advantage for this strategy? So, what do you people think? What is the advantage of using this strategy? Yes, very easy to use strategy, right? Now we don't have any issues in this regard. We have a separate table for each class here, easy to map. But even here we have one problem. What is it?
Data redundancy.
Data redundancy. Okay. How do you say redundancy here? Yes.
You have same information in both the tables.
Not the data I can say. Rather, I would like to say the columns names are redundant here, right? Columns. Data, of course, you see, seller will have seller details, buyer will have buyer record, bidder will have bidder records. So the same record will not be inserted into two different tables, right? So, but what is the problem here? You see, the problem is that we got the columns redundant here. So you'll find that these columns are added to both the tables. Yes, they are redundant. Definitely, they are redundant. Okay. I hope you people got it. Yes. Now the third strategy here is actually join table strategy. Okay, join table strategy. Yes. What do you think? What is this join table strategy? Any idea? So this strategy, you'll find that here it is slightly complicated. Okay, it's slightly complicated, but actually this strategy is considered as the best. So let's go through this. So in this strategy, what happens? I guess already someone has mentioned about it. I guess Madhavi. Yeah. In this strategy, what happens? You'll find that uh, you know, for all the three classes which are involved here in this hierarchy, see, all the classes, both the superclass and subclasses, you'll find that all the classes here basically will be mapped to tables. For each class, you'll have a table here, I can say. So for each class, you'll have a separate table. That means for user, we'll have a table. For the seller, you'll have a table. For the buyer also, you'll have a table. That means, you see, it's similar to this strategy, but the common columns now, they won't be in this user table, sorry, in this subclass tables. The common columns, they won't be in the subclass tables. You'll find that the common columns, you'll add them to the separate table here, superclass table, I can say. Okay. So that is what happens. Okay, fine. Let's check this third strategy. So for user class, we have a table. We'll have a primary key column here. For seller class, you'll have a table. You'll have a primary key column. It accesses both primary key and foreign key, can say. You'll have user ID column in the seller also. You'll find that here this column, it accesses both primary key as well as foreign key. It accesses both primary key as well as foreign key here. Yes. Okay. Yeah. It is a primary key and it refers to the primary key of the user table. Okay. First of all, let me just import this, export this project. I'm sorry. This is table per class strategy. Okay. Now let's make changes. First of all, I'll change this inheritance strategy name. What is it? It is single table strategy. And then here, you see, we'll add this table annotation. We have to map this class to the table and call it as user. Okay. And then, you see, the next thing is here. For the seller, okay, already we have a table. But we have to specify the details about this column, the user ID column, the primary key column which I'm talking about, which is called as a sorry, which is both primary key and foreign key. Because it is both primary key and foreign key, so we call it as primary key join column. See, we have to provide the details this way. Primary key join column. This way, primary key join column. User ID. Primary key join column. In the bidder also you add it, that's it. Okay. In the bidder class also you'll have it. Bidder table also you'll have it. Primary key join column. That's all we need to do. So this is the link between the user and seller table, user and bidder table. That means the superclass table and subclass tables. That is how they are associated. They're linked through that column itself, that common column which you got here. Okay. Yes. So I hope you understood this mapping. It's also very simple. So now let's run this code. Now the records partially they will be added to the buyer table, and partially they'll be added to the seller table in this case. Sorry, partially to the superclass table and subclass tables, I should say. The records are partially added to the superclass table and partially added to the subclass tables here. Yes. If you add a bidder record, it will be added to superclass table, user class as well as bidder. Similarly, if you add a seller record, it will be added to user table as well as seller table. Yeah. You see, in this user table, we'll only have the fields. Oh, sorry. This table is not updated. Just a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have to change it to join table. I'm sorry. I didn't notice it. I'll show you the seller here. You see, seller table, commission rate, max items, user ID. And now it will be mapped to that user table as well. You see, in the user table also you'll have user ID column, which will be mapped to this user ID of the subtable, seller table. And you see in this user class, you have the user class fields. That's it. User table, you have the user class fields. So bidders, actually I should have added one, so at least one common property, sorry, one special property. I didn't do that. So we don't have any columns also here, just one column. So we can add it actually, we'll do that. So now hope you understood the records. If you add a seller record, you see it will be added to the user table and to the seller table. Now to fetch this record from this table, what type of query we are supposed to write here? Yes. What type of query we are supposed to write to fetch this record? Join query.
Join call.
But we don't have to work with those queries, right? Hibernate itself will fetch the records for us. Yeah. Hibernate itself will fetch the records for us. Yes. So I hope you people got it. Yes. Is it clear for you people, all of you? This is the best strategy actually. This strategy is considered as the best strategy which you got here. Okay. Any questions? Please let me know. Good. I'm assuming that this is clear for you people, right? So I want you people to just try this examples. I want you people to at least add the data. Try inserting the data. You try this. It will be a little challenging, but I want you people to try this. Okay. This is join table strategy. That's it. So this is about inheritance mappings. So we'll talk about criteria in the next class. I'll stop it here today. So let's meet tomorrow and we'll continue the discussion. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.